This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
I've found the perfect guitar, and I think it's quite an interesting sort of thing. So this is, obviously you've seen me playing this guitar, if you've seen the channel at all. I've had this since 2018. I'd never actually opened it up and seen exactly what was, you know, making this guitar exactly what it is. I was restringing it the other day, and I kind of just wanted to do like a little bit of a video about this guitar, because I thought, yeah, I don't know, it's nice to talk about things that I really like. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so K Line Springfield. I don't know the exact year of it, but let's get into it. Now, I've had a lot of K Line Springfields, you know, relative to the average guitarist. This is my favourite of them all. But of the other people that have played some of my K Lines, this is not their favourite, which is kind of interesting to me. So, took this one to someone who was interested in playing a Strat not that long ago. I took the yellow K Line and this blue one, and they actually preferred the yellow one. So they're playing that yellow one at the moment. They're on the lookout for a Strat. But you might see that one pop up somewhere if you're looking out for it. In any case, that's kind of the interesting thing to me, is that even two guitars with pretty much identical specs, they're all a little bit different, and just because I really like this one, you know, doesn't mean that you wouldn't prefer another one. Anyway, so this guitar, I opened it up, I decided to put on some Daddario Balanced Tension 10 to 46 strings. I don't change strings on my guitars that often. Normally when they start to lose their intonation, which I think happens because they start to lose tension, and then also if you get like the build up of residue underneath, obviously the string just is a bit different. So this was kind of a little bit sharp out of the 12th fret. I think that's one of the things, if you're thinking like this guitar doesn't seem to be playing as well in tune as it used to, one of the things to consider is when was the last time you changed strings. If you're someone like me who doesn't change them that often, that could sometimes take you back to like an ideal setup. The other thing that I was doing, because like a couple of times a year, and this is maybe the one thing that is not ideal about, I guess, any vintage style truss, is that you have to actually adjust the neck by taking it off, pretty much. But a couple of times a year, it kind of, to me, I quite like a medium action rather than a low action, and at the moment this was just feeling a little bit low, so I was like, right, I'm going to get in there and loosen off that truss rod a little bit more. But it's absolutely, I think, quite fantastic to have a guitar that you have like a connection with, where it's like, I wouldn't want anything to change about this guitar, because, you know, I played my buddy's Strat, Jake, he's got Ron Ellis's in there. I was like, those pickups, actually, I prefer when I kind of side by side did them with these Lollar Dirty Blondes, which are from 2010. I don't know if this actual guitar is from 2010 or whether it's just an older set of pickups that Chris had lying around. But in any case, and then when I actually play it isolated by itself, it's to me just like that perfect, airy, I also really like about this guitar that the trem I never do like anything wild with it. But it's pretty stable. It's got the perfect neck shape for me as well, which is this medium C, 1.65 inch width, 10-inch radius, and not totally dissimilar from something like a Silver Sky in terms of thickness. But for me, it's really important not to have a neck that's too skinny, but I also don't like a really baseball batty neck. So this is the K Line Medium C, and I think this is what my hands have got really quite used to, and something I'd not really considered when I was, you know, switching between like the Nacho, which became my #1 guitar for a while, which is on a break now, but I hadn't really considered the difference that might actually make technique-wise if you're playing a guitar for a long time and your technique has kind of moulded around that instrument. Because as much as I do play a lot of guitars, you know, whether I got to demo them or whatever, I do kind of gravitate towards this guitar. And when it wasn't this guitar, it was also the yellow one, most of all. And I hadn't really anticipated that switching guitars would over time potentially cause my hand to like some very mild discomfort, but something that I'm paying attention to. So even think of like, you know, heavy stuff like Bill Murray are using Strats. For heavier stuff, I think Reese uses definitely a Strat. I guess comment below what genre do you think a Strat doesn't work for if you've got one. The weight of this is like £7 and about 7 ounces. It sits quite nicely in that sort of medium to slightly light-ish, but actually where I think a Strat should belong. Like, I don't think you want a Strat to be much over this. You know, £8 to me feels like that is the intermediate sort of weight for a Strat, the medium weight that Fender put out quite a lot, but I think it's actually kind of heavy for a guitar of this style. Yeah, there's just nothing that I would change about it. I mean, I guess if I could replicate one so that I had one as well, that would be a nice thing, you know, had a spare. But at the same time, one of the other beautiful things about having a guitar that you like most of all is that you play it more, and you get this kind of beautiful thing happening with it where it starts to age. I think it's even started to age quicker since I have that wedding ring on, because I can now see, you know, lacquer coming off on this side, and it's, I don't know, I'm really interested to see what this guitar, you know, ends up looking like. You know, whether 10 years time, what will this thing be like? I think that's kind of a fascinating thing, and maybe I'll still be making videos then. Maybe I'll have found a real job, who knows. But hopefully some of you guys are interested in this sort of thing, and I'd love to know if you guys have got your perfect guitar that kind of, I've tried, you know, dozens of Strats after this, but this is absolutely the one that speaks to me most of all, and I think that's quite a cool thing. And you know, it does mean that I don't really have to look at Strats and think about whether I would buy another one or not, because it's kind of like, well, you've got one that makes sense. The next thing for me is going to be, I think, trying to source a C neck for that Nacho, so maybe that is the next part of the journey. Anyway, cheers for stopping by. If you are digging these tones, this is the Eric Lee 2023 preset, which you can find in the Gumroad for HX Stomp or for Helix or Helix Native. Cheers.